Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Preservation Board, and I'm going to call a roll to establish who is here. Commissioner Fathman, are you here?
I'm here.
Commissioner Hamilton, are you here? Commissioner Vines, are you here?
Yes.
Commissioner Vines.
So is Dan.
Here.
Vaccaro, are you here? And I am here. I'm sure we'll be joined by other commissioners in progress. Commissioners, has anybody read the October 2019 minutes?
Sorry, missed you. Thanks for coming in.
Do you have a motion in that regard?
Would make a motion, we approve the minutes of the October, what was it?
19.
2019 meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes for October 2019 are approved. Commissioners, take a look down at today's agenda. Is there anybody who needs to recuse themselves from any of these items for any reason? Is everybody okay with the order of the items? This will be our agenda for today. Calling first agenda item A, 310 DeBaliviere.
Jan Taylor from the Cultural Resources Office, and I suppose I have to use this, right?
Dennis Director Krasnoff arrived yet?
I believe he has.
Okay.
He is in the building. Okay. So this is a proposal, a preliminary review for the construction of a large apartment building. I believe there are 150 units proposed for the Tilania site. We'll be familiar with that. I can figure out how to. It's at the corner of Pershing Avenue and DeBaliviere Place in the Central West End Local Historic District. That's the project site. And so is this. Building, of course, will be demolished. It's a non-contributing resource to the district, so that's not really an element of concern. This is the proposed property. This is looking at it to the northeast from the center of the intersection, the rendering. And this reflects certain alterations to the initial proposal that were negotiated with the Cultural Resources Office staff, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail in a minute. What I'd like to emphasize is the massing of the building. It is at the corner, and that generally is characteristic that corner buildings in the district encroach on the property line and also are larger or taller than adjacent structures. But this is a pretty large building. Now, having said that, there is a proposal for an even larger building to be constructed on the opposite sides of DeBaliviere, and that would be not within our jurisdiction. Right, Dan?
Well, there's two components to that project. One is on the north side of Giverville, which is the street that runs to DeBaliviere. That's where the strip center is. Folks are familiar with this location. The strip center is not in the local historic district. There's another building that's part of that development that's on the south side of Giverville. That building will be in the Secret DeBaliviere site. So when that comes to the board, you all will review part of the project, but not the whole project.
Okay.
If that's clear as mud.
This is the the Pershing elevation. And what I've left in there indicated is that there will be parking on the first level of part of the first story. So there is an indication of trying to use faux windows to give a better street presence than would be ordinarily the case if the parking were exposed. And the same thing on the DeBaliviere elevation on the left side. So those will have decals on them, and they will be lit. I'll let the architect for the project go into more explanations. Most of the building is brick. The upper stories are cement panels. Okay. At the request of the staff, the building's been darkened, and the contrast between the panels and the proposed brick has been lessened so that it creates what we felt was a richer, more appropriate facade. This is a streetscape elevation of Pershing, so you will see the massing of the building. What's next to it are small, relatively small, 3-story multifamily buildings on the right. And this is the DeBaliviere streetscape, which is pretty varied. Okay. And then, as I was speaking of, these are the details of the faux windows in front of the garage area. On the left side is a detail of corner balconies that the staff felt the openings were a little bit too large to be appropriate. That has been revised. It's not reflected in these drawings, but has been revised to make them smaller. And just briefly, this is the site looking northeast, and there you see the small 3-story buildings. These buildings adjacent, we're proceeding east along the north side of Pershing. Most buildings are 2 or 3 stories. A few are larger. And this is the context on the east side of Pershing, on the south side. And this is a building by the same developer, and I don't know if it's the same architect too. Were you the architect for this project, Tom? Anyway, this is a building that was approved by the board a couple of years ago, and it is completed. This is Tribeca. Again, a mix of the panels and the brick. There will be more brick on this new building that's proposed. And this is the corner of DeBaliviere and Pershing, which you're probably all very familiar with. This is the building directly opposite Pershing, a little 3-story with a storefront first story. And on the right is the location of the proposed large building, one of the proposed large buildings. Okay. Again, now we're looking east along Pershing with the site on the left and the smaller building on the right. This is the streetscape on DeBaliviere. And this is, again, the site of the proposed new building, and then looking north along DeBaliviere. Okay. So, with the condition that final details be submitted to the staff for review, we are supporting preliminary review approval by the board for the project. I have submitted before you a letter from the Central West End Association. This reflects the initial design, and it does not reflect what I just showed you tonight, what you'll see further. But they have concerns about the street-level windows, as we did, the balcony railings, the expanse of glass that was at the stairwell has been addressed, and let's see what else we have. Material selection has been addressed, and the cornice line also has been simplified, again at the request of our staff as well as the neighborhood. So,
Is there anybody
questions?
from the neighborhood here?
No.
Okay. Questions? Questions? Thank you. Dan, did you want to add anything?
Why don't we, I may add something at the end, but why don't we hear from you?
We're pretty close to the end. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Are you going to have the applicant?
We'll have questions for the applicant. We don't need to hear about the project twice.
Why don't we do the questions for the applicant, and then I'd like to speak.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Dan Scott? You're Dan Scott?
I am Dan Scott,
What is your address?
400 East Walnut Street, apartment 300 in Springfield, Missouri.
Did you just hear that presentation?
I did, and I promised my best not to try to repeat anything.
Is there anything in there with which you disagree?
I do not.
Will you entertain questions?
One clarification that I would make is a commitment that I've already made kind of as a sidebar conversation with Jan, that the intent, and I'm the primary designer at this stage of the project, my intent on the revision after we went through Central West End was to reduce the balcony openings to the width of the adjacent windows, so scale would match. She seemed to indicate, I'll let her agree or disagree, that that would be appropriate solution. That was done on some of the 4 balcony openings in question, but we've noticed on the drawings that not all. So I will appropriately flog my staff and make sure that that correction is made.
Okay, hold on one second. Melanie, you got a question?
No? Sounds
You
good.
got a question?
Not about that. I have another question about
Okay.
the project. Okay. Just curious, what is the parking ratio of this building?
Parking ratio is about 1 to 1.1 or 1.1 to 1.
Okay.
For the 150 apartments, I believe we have 164 stalls. Yes, correct.
And is that all for residents and tenants of the building, or is there a public component to it?
Well, that'd be up to property management for the building, but I'm assuming maybe some of that would be reserved for employees for the retail as well.
Okay, and is this in any way, aside from proximity, affiliated with the transit development that's going on in the adjacent parcels?
No.
Okay. But it will be a transit-friendly, I imagine.
Yes, and in fact, that was one of the main reasons for the additional storefront.
Okay.
Is to try to encourage and increase street engagement beyond just the retail segment. Thus, we added the storefront glazing in front of the parking garage as well. And as Jan pointed out, pardon, I'm going to repeat, we're going to backlight that glazing, make it transparent with some sort of graphic that would be acceptable.
Okay.
Alderman, some questions?
Thank you. I'm done. Thanks.
Tiffany? Randy, have you got a motion?
Yes, I move that the Preservation Board grant preliminary approval for this project with the stipulations that the porch openings be reduced in size. I think you covered that. And that final documents, design details, and exterior materials be reviewed and approved by the Cultural Resources Office.
Is there a second?
Second.
Tiffany and by Melanie. Commissioners, there's a motion on the floor that's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, then. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you to Preservation Board and to Dan for postponing the meeting from last week. That was a trip from Springfield I was not looking forward to making, so appreciate that.
I live 3 blocks from here. I wasn't looking forward to walking.
I wasn't.
Okay, Commissioners. We are now going to convene as an administrative board to take a look at some appeals of denials. Noting that we have a quorum present. Counselor, anything else I need to do?
No, you took a roll vote indicating the quorum. I don't see anything else.
Okay, I will ask all witnesses to promise that they're telling the truth and to introduce all of the documents they wish to be considered into the record. Calling first, agenda item B, 3922 to 24 Shenandoah Avenue.
Bethany Moore of the Cultural Resources Office. I swear to tell the truth. I would like to read into the record the enabling ordinance 64689 as amended by 64925, as well as ordinance 59400, the Shaw Neighborhood Standards. Can I vote those? All right. This is an appeal of denial for 3922 to 24 Shenandoah Avenue. This is the existing residence. It has, all right, here are the wooden steps, the wooden configuration right here. These are concrete wooden steps leading up to the wooden porch. The applicant has applied to replace the wooden steps with concrete steps leading up to the wooden porch.
Bethany, this sounds familiar. Have we heard this before?
Yes, you have. In January of 2019, you approved a similar, well, the exact same project for the house next door by the same owner.
How did
So I
that
have
turn
some
out?
pictures. I have some pictures of that.
Thanks.
So here, these are the two buildings. The one in red is the one that we're talking about, and then I'll show you the one next door that you approved in January. Again, this is a close-up of the wooden steps versus the concrete steps on the existing building. Here is the steps that were approved in January. They are concrete And they are dry. I went by and took 2 separate pictures. So this is the completed project. And this is what is being proposed to be done to the building that we're talking about today as well.
We approved that?
What?
We approved that?
We did.
Was it described
Or
the same way?
the Preservation Board did approve it. What?
Was it described the same way?
I believe so. It's the same, yes, it's the same, exactly the same project. Just 2 different houses right next to each other
Thanks.
with identical porches.
It's pretty ugly.
All right. Per the standards, especially for porches, architectural details are supposed to be maintained in the same original material. And changing these steps from wood to concrete would not be maintaining that wooden porch. So because of this reason, we have denied, the Cultural Resources Office recommends that the Preservation Board uphold the director's denial of the application to replace the existing front steps with concrete steps, as that would not comply with the Shaw Neighborhood Historic District standards.
Questions on this side? Me?
Well, it looks very different from the one that we approved in January. I don't know.
Yeah, I did not imagine it would look like that.
Oh, yeah, it looks kind of bad.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Okay, is the appellant present?
Yes,
Hello again.
yes, Your Honor.
Tell us your name, please.
My name is Wu Chen Wu.
And is your testimony going to be the truth?
Yes,
What is your address?
3915 Magnolia.
Okay, what would you like us to do?
What to do? Please consider I make a good effort to make a concrete step for the building next door, and all the neighbors, all the people pass by are very, very happy with what came out. And the only thing I haven't painted is that the wood step, the wood railing, and that they had to be painted white when the wood is weathered. And it's not weathered yet, so we will do it next year. But my point is, after I finished the next door, it was very, very beautiful. And all the neighbors are very, very happy with it. So I request that you approve the next door building similarly.
Did you bring any neighbors with you? Did you bring any of those happy neighbors with you?
No, sorry, I didn't know I did.
Is there some reason that there is such a mismatch between the upper and lower concrete steps?
Oh, the color of the concrete was specified by the board. We follow every step that you recommend, that the concrete had to be colored. So it's specially dyed into that color. It was a recommendation of the board. And I can change it any color you want.
Questions on this side?
I don't really know anything about concrete, but do those things tend to change color over time? Because it looks like a very stark difference between the existent steps below and the newly poured ones. It's quite a bit different, and it looks a little not too congruous.
Yes, that color, we follow the rule, and by putting some dye into the cement, therefore it end up this color. And that color was approved by the board here.
Which
I would have used the color to match the lower one if that's the interest of, if that's what you want. So I have the picture, you want to look?
Do you have any colored pictures?
Bethany?
Is there any colored pictures? No.
Yeah, the color picture.
Is,
I don't recall a discussion of the color of
Thank you.
steps.
It does say the steps meet the staff recommendation.
The color was specified by the,
so
You did not recommend that?
This is
it was after the rain. I took the picture shortly after it rained.
this is
Notice how the step rail be painted.
Same color.
Is there anything else, sir?
Yes, sir. I will be very grateful if you can approve similarly.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
How did we vote on A?
Vote on the first one. We voted on that.
Melanie, have you got a recommendation? Sorry, have you got a motion?
Let me think about it some more, I know.
Uphold the denial.
Well, I recommend that the Preservation Board uphold the director's denial of the application to replace the existing front steps with concrete steps, as they do not comply with the Shaw Neighborhood Historic District standards.
Is there a second?
I'll go ahead and make it.
Second. Okay, discussion.
So,
Yeah.
I think it would be fine if it actually matched the I'm torn, because if the Shaw bylaws or whatever says that it's not supposed to change material, then I get it. But then we let his neighboring property, for some reason, a year ago, transform to concrete. And then he said he didn't want to paint it this color, but someone told him to paint it this color. So now that's why I'm kind of torn as to.
See, that may in fact be a misunderstanding of what we ordered. I think it was the rail that was to have been painted, not the steps that were to have been painted.
Okay.
And the result is really sort of gosh awful.
Masters.
And I don't see how we could do it twice. But that is just me. I think we may have erred in doing it the last time, and I don't think we make it any better by doing it twice. Alderman?
That's gonna run a new word.
It means to put windows back in.
No, we looked it up. I know better. I got that penetration.
What do you think?
I don't recall ever, having an agenda item quite like this where something was approved right next door that, looks to me that is non-compliant. And then it got through and the same appellant wants to do the exact same thing next door. I feel like there's got to be some kind of happy medium here. This cannot be just the end result, the only end result for these steps. There's got to be a way to make them blend in better with each other.
Yeah, there's concrete color that you match the concrete directly to whatever the color that's already there. So that's easily done. The issue is that these were painted over once the concrete was put in.
Yeah, I don't see how we can justify allowing the same situation to occur next door unless there's a way to guarantee that it's going to be a better match. It just looks incomplete. It looks unfinished to me, the way this is.
And I guess, I wonder why it was approved in the last trial if it goes against Shaw.
It was such an extended discussion, and you weren't here for it.
I know, see? No. Okay.
We did it by a variance.
Okay.
The appellants, and we overturned a staff ruling.
Yeah.
And the appellant's argument that we found compelling was he never, ever, ever wanted to have to replace the steps again, and he'd make the whole thing match.
Okay,
But
so
it doesn't
tried the
s-
first time it didn't work, so.
I don't see why we should make.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
not good.
Tony? You're the king of concrete.
I mean, you can color match concrete.
So what would we match? Would we match the existing steps or the ones next door?
Yeah, now that one's a good
The one at the
question.
bottom. Isn't that's concrete? I think we should just,
And paint the rails.
I think
I
they
think
should.
we should just vote.
Tiffany has more or less moved the question. And the alderman has called the question. Commissioners, there's a motion in front of us. It has been made and seconded and discussed. I'm going to call a roll. Commissioner Fathman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Vines, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Alderman Vaccaro, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
That is 5 yeses. The motion carries, and the director's denial has been upheld. Back to the drawing board. Okay, Commissioners, agenda item C is an appeal of a director's denial at 4011 Magnolia Place.
Bethany Moore of the Cultural Resources Office. I swear to tell the truth. I would also, again, like to read into the record ordinance 64689, as amended by 64925, the enabling ordinance, and ordinance 59400, the Shaw Neighborhood Standards. This is an appeal of a denial to replace 13 6/1 windows with 3/1 windows at 4011 Magnolia Place. It's 3 in on Magnolia Place. Here's the street, this is Magnolia Place. And then this is a layout of where all the windows being proposed to be replaced are. This is the first floor, and this is the second floor. And I outlined the windows being replaced in red. 10 are on the front, and 3 are on the sides near the front. Here's a comparison of the windows. The one on this one right here on your left is the existing 6/1. This is the neighbor's windows. They have 3/1 wood windows. This is a shot for context looking towards Thurman Avenue along Magnolia Place. Magnolia Place is almost exclusively craftsman bungalows. And within that, there's a lot of variety in their styles. So I just wanted to show a few examples of that. These are the houses directly opposite 4011 Magnolia Place. It's kind of hard to see with their storm windows, but these are all multi-light windows. I have some close-ups. Here's a craftsman bungalow with a similar window configuration to 4011. It's got 6/1 windows as well. Again, a few more examples of craftsman bungalows along Magnolia Place. Here's a close-up of the current windows. These are 6/1. And then a close-up of the neighbors next door, which are 3/1. So this would be the difference between the two. And then I also took some pictures for context of the differentiations in the window patterns along the street to show that although there is a large variety of multi-light patterns in the craftsman style, a lot of them are represented on this street. These ones I thought were particularly interesting. And I say that to say that this house was built with 6/1 windows, and all of the windows being proposed are 6/1. So replacing these with 3/1 would change the historic integrity of this specific house. Although 3/1 windows would be appropriate for craftsman style, this house was not built with them. They had that option, and they did not choose that option, like the one next door. And so because of that, the standards also say that windows should be in the same vertical and horizontal proportions and style as in the original structure. A 3/1 window is not the same style as a 6/1 window. So the Cultural Resources Office recommends that the Preservation Board uphold the director's denial to replace the 13 original 6/1 windows with 3/1 windows, as doing so does not comply with the Shaw Neighborhood Local Historic District standards.
Is there any additional testimony or input from alders or neighborhood organizations?
No.
Okay. Questions on this side?
Could they replace them with 6/1 new windows?
If they replicated, they could replace them with 6/1. That would meet the standards, because that would be in the same style.
Okay, I guess I'll save it for them.
Violent.
Question? Questions?
If I understood, the 3/1 is actually, if the building was built it that way, it's actually acceptable, so why would it not be? If it falls within the standards anyway, why would?
It doesn't fall within the standards of this house. So the standards say that the windows should be maintained in the same style as the original. Changing these windows from 6/1, which was their original style, to a 3/1 would be changing the style of the window, because it would no longer be 6/1, it would be 3/1. So the house next door was built with 3/1, but this house was built with 6/1. So if you wanted to change the ones next door to 6/1, again, that would also not meet the standards, because it would not be in the same style as the original.
That's wild. I like the 6/1 look better, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So if they go to change theirs, they got to stick with 3/1.
Yes, per the standards.
Question?
No, I mean, no. That doesn't make no sense.
Yes, no? Questions?
No questions.
Connie? Thank you very much. Okay, let's hear from the appellants, please.
I have handouts. Should I?
Just get them down to Adana, who will wave her hand.
Okay. There's two documents, so I've sorted them so they're in. Just take each pair. Like the first two, yeah.
How many pairs?
Okay. Sorry. So I'm Karen Petrosky. I'm one of the owners of 4011 Magnolia Place, the appellant.
And I'm the other owner, TJ Bruss.
And is your testimony going to be the truth?
Yes.
Okay. What would you like us to do?
Well, we hope that you will reverse the decision. I prepared a slideshow explaining the reasons we'd like to change the grille design on the windows and why we think it's in keeping with the house as well as the block.
And the ordinance?
And the ordinance, yes. So we've already, the first couple of slides are just repeating information that Bethany's already provided. There's the existing windows, the first and second stories with the 6/1, and then TJ edited that photo to show the 3/1, not a huge difference in appearance. The next slide is a summary of our justifications or our reasoning. There's a number of houses on our block, which is a sort of unique block in its unity of style with variety of details. The 3/1 window design or grille style that we're asking you to approve is one of the most common grille styles on the block. The next slide gives you another sort of overview of some of the variety from simple to complex of the grille designs on the block. The most common designs for windows are the one on the left, which is just plain 1/1 or just a single pane with no grille at all. The middle design, which is 3 or 4 or 5/1, which is what we're asking you to approve, and then a 6/1 is the third. Each of those three groups, there's about a fifth of the houses on the block that have those styles of grille designs in the windows. We think that this, so the next slide shows the location. This is also, you already have this information, but this slide has the addresses of the houses. One of the handouts that we provided to you is the breakdown of the addresses which have the different grill designs in their windows that documents the 3 most common grill designs that I just mentioned to you. 1/1 or no grill, 3 or 4 or 5/1, and then 6/1. Each of those are about equally represented. So the next slide gets to the ordinance question, the compliance with the historic guidelines. So this design, this is a classic arts and craftsman style. It's identified as representative of that style. On the website of this organization, which is a national organization, uses a Shaw window design or grill design as its example of an arts and crafts window. And it explains why this is considered a typical arts and craftsman style window design, grill design. Simplicity, reduction of parts, unifies interior and exterior, emphasizes the horizontality of the design and the unity of the interior and the exterior. Our house is one of the smallest houses on this block and one of the simplest in its design. The next slide shows you some of the other houses that have somewhat more ornate cornice designs, brick designs. Some of them, not all, most of them are asymmetrical in their layout. The front facade is asymmetrical, so the door off to one side like this. Our house is comparatively simple, and part of why we like this grill design for our house is because of its simplicity, the 3/1. The last slide before another comparison is showing you some improvements we've made to the inside of the house. We had our neighbor, who was a cabinet maker, build in these bookshelves. When we moved into the house in 2014, it didn't have any built-ins, unlike pretty much all of the other houses on the block. So he built these for us. The mantle, he put wood over to reproduce the brick structure of the mantle and made these doors for us. The windows that we're asking you to approve would match the design of the doors of the bookshelves. We didn't have that in mind when we had the bookshelves built, but would harmonize the interior and the exterior. And that's about, I think, about all I have to say. Thank you for listening. The last slide is another comparison. Yes?
A question?
Yes. You're replacing these for heat efficiency, or why? Because, I mean, they look nice from...
Yeah, they look nice. If you don't approve our request, I think that we will probably not replace them, because I don't think that. Yes, we do want to replace them partly for efficiency purposes, but we also like the design, the simpler design, and would like to continue to improve the house in keeping with the design principles that characterize the block.
Strobing is on.
So,
Yes.
okay, so this says that the doors, dormers, windows, and openings, maybe I'm interpreting this different. And openings on both new and renovated structures should be the same vertical and horizontal proportions. I'm thinking the actual window.
Right, that's kind of,
I feel like it depends on how you interpret this.
that's kind of how I read the
Actual-
guidelines too.
Yeah, it seems like if they were getting a larger window, widthwise or lengthwise, that'd be different. The proportions are the same, it's just, there's an extra strip. So I don't see, if you read that line, I don't.
I think Bethany will say that the word that she's looking at in the ordinance is style.
Yes.
I'm
If you
sorry.
continue with that same paragraph, that same sentence, horizontal proportions and style as the original. So this would not be the same style.
Unless you consider both of these to be examples of craftsman window
Yeah,
style.
That's what I was
I'm
thinking.
interpreting it as. Yeah, especially because if more than half the street, it just, in my mind, it doesn't make sense why one window would be okay on one house or a few houses and another six panels.
Some of them weren't
this,
caught.
this had better end as a question.
Some of them weren't caught.
And then the other windows have 3. I don't understand that. Do you?
Nicely done, Tiffany. To which you would say, no, I do not.
Thank you.
Me too.
Are these new windows vinyl? Are these new windows gonna be vinyl?
No,
There was it's the same material, I think.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Do you have any, has your alderperson or any neighborhood groups chimed in on this request?
no, but we'd be happy to ask them to if you'd like to defer your decision and for that input.
Thank you.
Do you have anything to add, sir?
No.
You'd like to put into your appeal?
Aside from our documents?
Anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Commissioner Fathman, have you got a motion?
Oh, let me think about it.
I have a motion.
I'll go with your motion.
Okay, Commissioner Hamilton, have you got a motion?
Okay, let me try to figure this out.
Oh, seriously?
I recommend. No.
I've got a motion,
I'm
I've got a
sorry.
motion.
No,
Let me think of a motion.
I'm excited. Okay, I recommend the Preservation Board,
You move.
or I move the Preservation Board allow the owners to replace the 13 original 6/1 windows with 3/1 windows.
So your motion is to overturn the director's denial
Correct.
and to allow the owners to use the 3/1s that they want to.
Correct.
And I second.
We got seconds and thirds.
He said in third.
Well, he seconded it too, so.
Discussion, Tiffany?
I guess it's the way I interpret it is different. I understand the word style, but I feel like it's still in the same family.
Of course you understand the word
So-
style.
Thank you. So that's my opinion.
Commissioner
Give them the
Robinson,
windows
you
they
have a
want.
question?
A question? No, so window style. Double hung, single hung, fixed casement are styles. This is a detail of a double hung window and not a style. It is a detail that, and several that work with the arts and crafts style, but mullion, Mooten styles are details within a style of a window. We're not changing the style of the window.
Alderman Vacar was about to say exactly the same thing.
I would have, so I'm just trying to figure out that word that we used to.
Anything to add?
I agree with everything that was stated before. I think this is not a dramatic difference to me. It's still in the arts and crafts style, in my opinion, and it's really just getting down to semantics and just seems a little bit over the top to dictate something so minuscule, in my opinion.
Now, Melanie's middle name is Over the Top. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, but one of the reasons that there's such a variance on that street also is the fact that a lot of people put the windows in either before the ordinances, were adopted or just didn't get caught. So it's not like, I also agree with some of the things that other people have said, but that's why you have the variety.
Sir.
I recommend that the commissioner that made the motion also add that in replacing these windows, they still meet all of the other historic requirements for windows within the ordinance.
Yes, please add that.
Do the seconds agree?
Yes.
Okay. Counselor, do you have that as the motion?
I have the motion is to overturn the director's denial, to allow the owners to replace with the 3/1 detail, and amend the motion's amendment reflecting that the appellants are to meet all other historic district standards.
Is that what you wanted? Tiffany?
Yes, exactly what I wanted.
Okay, Commissioners, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call a roll. Alderman Vaccaro, do you vote yes or no? Commissioner Vines, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Fathman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
That's 5 yeses.
Thank you. You did a
The
good job.
motion is approved, and the director's denial is overturned. Okay, Commissioners, next up, we have a
Merry
director.
Christmas.
We have a director's report.
Oh, we're
Just put your windows, I like the other ones better.
I do too.
Okay, there is no moment for second thoughts.
No, there's no second thought.
I'm for
Let them flee.
doing what they want.
Let them flee.
Happy they're getting what they want.
Director, is there a report?
Bethany, is mine up on the screen here, or is it somewhere else? Oh, there it is. It's staring me right in the face. Okay. All right. Come on. Wait. It's not responding. If only it would respond.
Oh. Not much I can do about that.
Come on, make it stop.
Well, I can exit out.
Christmas plan.
This was it. This was the high point of
This
Christmas.
is the oh gosh.
Right here. I came for the cookies.
You gave me the cookie. Those cookies were good.
Blue ones or the red ones?
I ate the purple ones.
I guess they want more purple.
I was hoping for some ham
I was going to the slide.
and. I guess I'm always
There, okay, okay.
Good evening, Preservation Board.
Good evening.
I'm Dan Krasnoff, Director of Cultural Resources. With the Director's Report, I would like to say that I do think this is a very thoughtful group of board members, and I respect whatever decisions you all make, and we'll carry them out. I do think the decision that was made tonight is kind of a dangerous precedent, because I believe each building is a unique exemplar of the kind of design that was imagined when the builder or architect or developer put it there. And if, for example, everyone on the street decided they liked the 3/1s more than the 6/1s, and we ended up with a street of all 3/1s over time, I think you would lose the historic character of the neighborhood and the variety of architectural details. So my thought would be just that we keep that in mind as well when we're making these kind of decisions on a micro level as we go building to building to building. I have a very brief report tonight. The first item I have is a new project. It's in a preservation review district. Well, actually, it's not. It's in the Midtown National Register Historic District. This is the former Odd Fellows building, and it's been made even odder by a bizarre alteration to it sometime in the post-war period, where someone, I think they thought they were building a sidewalk of exposed aggregate, and instead it ended up on the front of the building with no windows. It is a very, very weird MCM. This was actually created for the Odd Fellows, which is a social organization dating back to the 19th century in St. Louis. There's a developer, it's a St. Louis developer actually, who has not done work in St. Louis before, but they intend to demolish this structure and build an apartment building on the site. We just met with them for the first time in a very general way in the last few days. I do not anticipate difficulty getting this building torn down. The alteration made to it since World War II has affected its character in a very negative way in the staff's opinion. And the real question here is ensuring that the new construction fit well into the context of Lindell Boulevard in the Midtown National Register District, where you have buildings like the Coronado building, which you see actually those Midtown Towers, I take it back, which is one of two large apartment buildings that front onto Spring and Lindell. And then you have some other social buildings and some other apartment buildings, but the Moolah Theater is right along here. So I doubt this will come to the Preservation Board, frankly, since it's a non-contributing building, but I think it's a project that we'll be seeing that we're trying to influence the streetscape in a positive fashion. The next item is something that appeared online in the Business Journal today. BJC has applied for a demolition permit for the Queenie Tower building that you see here. It is a mid-century modern building. It was noted in our mid-century survey. Its demolition has been planned for many years. I remember working here in the 1990s and Kate coming back from a meeting saying Queenie Tower will be demolished. So it's been a survivor, which is interesting. BJC Wash U intend to build a building of scale similar to their other new buildings along Kings Highway. We have not seen a design for that yet, but this is a project that will be under review in the Cultural Resources Office over the next 30 to 60 days.
I think the board would like to see that one.
And that may happen. Again, we just got the application this week, so. I have a couple of other items here, a lot of demolition related. This one is one that I come with a great deal of sadness to tell you all about. This is the Watkins block. This is looking at the north end of the block. This is the 7200 block of Broadway on the east side of the street. The Preservation Board previously denied this demolition. The building commissioner has ordered an emergency demolition of it by the owner of the property. And in a conversation I had earlier today with the head of the Carondelet Community Betterment Federation, he thinks this demolition will happen sooner rather than later. Some of the buildings have already been demolished. There were these 3 townhouses at the end that you can see are no longer there on the top picture. They were in particularly bad shape. I had hoped that we would have a chance to preserve the middle set of buildings, which I did not think were in as bad a condition as the buildings on the end. But the building commissioner has that authority, and he has exercised it. I have, I think, a bit of happier news relating to 8500 Pennsylvania, which you see here, and 8525 Pennsylvania. You'll recall the board denied this demolition in the fall of 2018. This was denied for demolition. Actually, the Planning Commission declined to even review it. They then went to circuit court to seek to overturn the Preservation Board decision, and they withdrew their court action for the simple fact that they had a 30-day window after the Planning Commission declined to review, and they did not come forward until day 55 or 56 with their court action. So once they were made aware of that, they chose to withdraw. It has been more than a year since the Preservation Board decision, so theoretically, they could come back and apply for a demolition permit again immediately. I will say that the Carondelet Community Betterment Federation made an offer to the owner in an effort to purchase these properties and then put in a neighborhood preservation grant application, and the owner declined their offer. So I will go back to the director there and ask if he's willing to make that offer again in the hopes that maybe this time the owner might take the offer and the properties could still get rehabilitated.
See if you can keep them away from the building commissioner.
Yeah.
And that concludes my director's report.
Great. Just do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Hearing no objection, we stand adjourned. Thank you.